launched in early March. We're the first conservative type Spanish language network out there talking about the issues in the news in Spanish. Basically, we were modeled after the startup of Fox News back in 1996 when they saw a hole in what was then the news coverage of the day. We started this up, an idea that there is a hole in who is providing information in Spanish to the Hispanic folks out there. And we want to make sure that they got the truthful, right information right away in a full day of programming. So we've got 24 programs running 18 hours a day, 7 days a week. So if you get a chance, listen in on Sirius XM 153.
153 is where it's at.
If you habla español.
So
What's that?
153 is where it's at on Sirius XM. And yep. you got programming nonstop, going 24/7, or?
Yep, going from 6 in the morning till midnight. You can also catch us on Getter, where we also live broadcast. They've been a great platform for us to get our interviews and programming out across Getter. And we hope to be expanding from there. So join us there if you can.
Okay. Are you on any other platforms? TikTok, Truth Social, Rumble?
We will soon be up on all the major podcast platforms, getting those rolling now. We'll be on Spotify. We'll be on Apple Podcasts. We're rebroadcasting segments up on YouTube and hope to be up on Hulu and some of the others before too much longer. We plan on going full video over the top by the end of the summer. But for right now, we're primarily audio with a few segments on video and audio.
Okay, so you're going to have video of pretty much camera setup of all your shows, kind of like we do here, just while they're talking and that kind of thing.
Very similar to what we do here, but it's actually going to be close to a Newsmax or OAN format where it's full-blown, news studios, the whole bit.
Right. Okay, awesome. That's looking forward to that. And how's the reaction been to? I saw they had an interview with President Trump up there and that kind of stuff. How's the reaction been so far?
I'd put it this way: our listenership has already surpassed CNN Espanol, and our one broadcast, even of the interview with President Trump, surpassed anything CNN Plus even attempted to do.
I say, and you're going to last longer than CNN Plus.
Will last a lot longer than CNN Plus. We've already lasted longer than CNN Plus.
That's right.
Because our first broadcast was on March 8th, so we've lasted longer than they have.
There you go.
Which is a bonus.
That's it.
So anything for bragging rights at this point.
That's it. Well, luckily CNN Plus sets a very low bar for us all to surpass and measure against. So well, awesome on that. And are you brushing up on your Espanol? Or a little too habla?
No habla. Un poquito.
Yeah.
Un poquito.
There we go.
But I work with some really great people. I work with some folks that were in on the establishment of CNN Espanol back in the day. Some folks that have been Hispanic leaders on media across different platforms that have jumped onto our platform. So it's been a real learning experience, and I'm very thankful to be a part of a team like that.
That's awesome. I've been keeping me up on it the whole time. It's been interesting to watch it grow, and I know big things are in store for sure. So I'm excited to watch how this turns out with other venues, with other ventures too. I know that are in the works, but yeah, it must be that gold microphone. That's the secret. Hey, so I was swamped today. I was busy with a lot of stuff. I was trying to keep an eye on the news. I didn't even give him a chance to even listen to our good buddy Dave on his show on WBN. I have no idea what he even talked about today. But what I did see is yet again a president of the largest country in the free world, the United States of America, captured yet again on audio and video as confused as I've ever seen. And it didn't even take a rabbit to unconfuse him. I mean, there was not a rabbit around. Probably maybe it should have been. But what did you see? What did you see? I mean, someone told me about it, and I was like, "What? No, there's no." I mean, like I thought it was like an onion piece or something like that. And then I watched it, and I sit there and really my jaw hit the floor. And what I see,
It
with the
looked like
people.
something out of A.R. Puffin stuff, or Sid Marty Croft. That the rabbit is over there, running around with the president. I couldn't believe what I was seeing with this, and he was actually rambling from the audio that I've heard, from somebody's microphone, and he was talking to the press, and he was trying to find the words, and he couldn't find the words, and that's when the bunny ran over and said, "This way, Mr. President, please come over here. Come see the children."
Yeah, so you're hitting on two. So we'll start with the bunny rabbit. That I watched. I was actually talking about today's thing, but we'll get to that. Yeah, the rabbit thing was amazing because depending on which view you saw, I mean, there was one where he looked when the rabbit turned him. The camera was behind the rabbit. He looked and he looked scared. I mean, he looked like a little boy on a bunny rabbit's lap for the first Easter. He looked scared because he wasn't like, "What are you doing here?" And the look on his face just was pure fright. And the rabbit almost had to tilt her head back so he could see who it was. But I don't know how the administration can think. You have the president over there. He's the president, and he's having an open discussion with someone who's asking him. Apparently, it was about Afghanistan and Pakistan. To have I mean, I thought it was either, I thought it was Jill Biden in that rabbit, so because she loves to come grab him and take him away from people asking questions. But it was either Ron Kane or Joe Biden or somebody. But it was apparently one of the other staffers that, heard him say something about Afghanistan. It's almost like they said, "Go get him," and they turned him, literally grabbed him, turned him, and just pointed him away and shooed him. And he just went walking around as lost as he was when he was on stage with President Obama, right?
They could have sent any staffer out there on the yard, but they had to send the bunny.
Yes.
I mean, that's why would you send the most visible element in the entire yard?
I guess they thought nobody would notice, right? Nobody would notice. I don't know.
Pay no attention to the white rabbit. Pay no attention to the white rabbit.
Kind of leads to that old song.
And you know what? It's really sad because, follow the white rabbit.
Little Matrix reference.
That's a good one. I haven't seen anybody bring that reference up yet. Dianne Feinstein, the senator from California, also is in cognitive decline.
Yes.
I'm right there with her. It's why I'm stumbling here. But no, she's been talked about as being in a severe decline recently. So we're showing that all these, elderly people that are in the administration and running our country right now is really sad. We really, really need to get control back of our country and start putting in people that can keep control and keep control of their facilities. I'm really shocked at what we're running into day after day.
Yes, yeah, and it is when you look at this and you look at the leader that that talks this way. In fact, I want to play it for people here, and let people listen to this real quick. Let me play it.
Mr. President, on Title 42, sir, are you considering delaying lifting Title 42?
No, what I'm considering is continuing to hear from well, first of all, there's going to be an appeal by the Justice Department, because as a matter of principle, we want to be able to be in a position where if in fact it is strongly concluded by the scientists that we need Title 42, that we be able to do that. But there has been no decision on extending Title 42. Thank you.
So I want to just back that up and unpack that for some people. He was asked about Title 42, which is the law put in place by the Trump administration, keeping immigrants and people trying to come into this country illegally across the southern border from coming in due to the pandemic that we have going on and the health crisis going on. That is Title 42, turning people away because of that. He was asked about that today by a reporter. And you hear he talks about science and not extending it. The president confused the mask mandate which was just struck down by a judge in Florida, saying the CDC did not follow their own, did not follow government policy and overreach on their ability on their ruling, saying you had to wear a mask on public transportation. He confused Title 42, people coming across the border or turning and dropping Title 42, which is planned by the administration May 23rd, with the mask mandate, which was struck down 2 days ago, yet appealed last night by the Department of Justice. Right? We're not talking two things that are close. We're not talking like Title 42 and immigration. We're talking about not close, but sort of. We have Title 42 because we say that and we're dropping it because apparently there's not a pandemic or medical risk anymore. Yet the Department of Justice is now trying to fight and say on behalf of the CDC and say that we need to keep masks in place on planes because obviously studying it for 2 years wasn't enough. They need 2 weeks more to study it. And the president can just glaringly mix those up, and no one's calling BS on him. I mean, this isn't a rabbit. He needed a rabbit. He was asked a question about Title 42 at the southern border. He answered about scientists, the CDC, and extending mask mandates on public transportation. Had you had a chance to hear that yet, John?
I did, and I was also listening to the follow-up by the CDC saying that nobody, no court has the right to say, about public health, and that they're not following the science, and that's up to CDC to make these determinations, not a court. But what the court ruled on was the CDC not following the rules on how that is handled.
Yes.
The government agencies can't unilaterally say, guess what? Everybody has got to wear masks, or everybody's got to do this, or everybody's got to do that. There are specific guidelines in the federal government on how those activities are adjudicated. And obviously the court determined that they did not follow that. Therefore, they got the ruling that they did.
As Senator and Dr. Rand Paul has said a number of times, most recently I heard him a couple of weeks ago, every time the airline says to you, you have to have a mask on, it's a law, they're lying to you because there's only one body that can make laws, and that's Congress. And the CDC, as a health organization, a pseudo-federal health organization, cannot make laws and cannot do that, and that's, you're right. This judge ruled on a case that was brought to forward in a lawsuit April of last year. Finally got around to it, and even though all the left pontificators loved ripping her apart the next day, claiming she was young and inexperienced and she clerked for Clarence Thomas and she doesn't know, and it's not a medical ruling, she's doing a judicial ruling. She did not say that masks work or don't work. She didn't say she knew better than scientists. Like you said, she ruled that the CDC did not demonstrate what they needed to make this recommendation or try to put this rule, and they did not follow their own government policies of putting this out for public comment for a certain period of time, right, and for people to have reflection. Right. She was just saying you violated the process. Not that what you decided was good, bad, or indifferent. You just didn't follow the process, so you can't mandate this because there's a government-regulated process that has to follow. But, they ripped her apart.
Isn't there a way around this, Troy? Isn't there a way around this? Let's say I'm the CEO of United Airlines. I'm, taking care of my passengers, and I say, you know what? If you want to fly in United, guess what? You got to wear a mask.
Yeah, as a
just
private,
like several businesses
business. Yes, as a private
business, they can say you've got to wear a mask if you want to fly United. They could, as a consortium, they could say United, Delta, American, Spirit, Frontier, all of them. We have all decided that it's best public health if you wear a mask, and not have to worry about the CDC making a determination or not. They, with their own, medical advisors or whoever they've got, make their own determination of that. And they could also release it whenever they felt.
As a company, as an organization with their own legal counsel, they would measure their own risk and they would make those determinations. Just like a business that says, we want you to wear a mask in here, or we don't care if you wear a mask in here. That's on individual free will of businesses to make that decision. And as we know, a lot of these airlines had been lobbying for the government to drop this. They realized.
That's right.
They didn't want this anyways. But what gets me, John, is when it happened, I thought, okay, the government's going to let it go. It's 2 more weeks. And then to come back 2 days later and say, oh, no, we're going to fight this. But they're not asking for an emergency injunction to put the mask back in place, right? So nothing's going to happen. This is going to take months in a court to rule out. Well, this is all going to end.
But it'll never go that far because it was supposed to sunset in 2 weeks.
Right, May 2nd or May 3rd.
They'll just say, well, due to the bureaucracy of the courts and all that, it took too long, so we're past the date, we're going to let it go anyway. So just let it go.
The administration, the federal government's almost acting like someone's trying to pick a fight with, and their big buddies holding them back, and then they're saying, if he didn't have me, I'd come after you. I'd kick your butt if he wasn't stopping me, because they know they're not going to go anywhere. That's exactly what they're acting like. Like they're trying to save face and say, we're still trying to fight for this because the CDC, led by Walensky, former university professor, knows better and has the ability to enact and infringe on your private liberties as an agency that has no executable authority, right? Like you said, airlines can make that decision. People can make the free will decision, maybe to drive. Maybe fly an airline that does, or fly an airline that says we don't care. Maybe Spirit
or wear the mask on their own accord.
Right. Maybe Spirit, who likes to charge for everything, says, hey, if you don't want to wear a mask, it's an extra $10. They would be maxed out on their airline. People would be like, I'll pay $10 not to wear a mask. I mean, they could do whatever. They're a free will company, right? They have nothing to. The government should only be able to mandate and regulate either the what is absolutely prescribed in the Constitution, or that they are charged with, or that are not, that the states are not allowed to enforce, i.e. the 10th Amendment.
Now, also, isn't this CDC guidelines that these are not like the law? Like
they're not
said?
The law, right? They're not
There's
like
always been a guideline. So, all right, the CDC, how are they not mandating it in stadiums? How are they not mandating it anywhere else?
The country,
but they are mandating it still on the airplanes.
Yeah, the country would give would believe this administration more if they were stopping people at the border, testing them, giving them COVID shots, doing that kind of stuff. And they're like, okay, this government really cares about stopping this pandemic. But when you let across a record number of 200-something thousand people that you let through, who knows how many you didn't catch? That's how many you caught. Come through the border, and you stick them on planes, trains, and automobiles and let them go anywhere they want in the country. And the same you did with Afghan refugees, and the same you're doing with Ukrainian refugees. Then you're the epitome of hypocrite, and that's why the American people are saying this isn't about science. This isn't about this is 100% politics, and that's why the people have just
it's all virtue signaling.
Years ago, prior to this, no one ever would question that. If the CDC put something out, everyone believed it. And it wasn't that the country were sheep. It's like we had no reason to think that they would be slighted politically one way or another. It was like they are truly following science, and these are the smart brainiacs that know what they're doing, and I'll trust them because I have no reason not to. We're now at a point in this country, because I have them politicizing this China virus, that no one's going to trust another doctor. You have one doctor who sits there and says, none of my staff want to get shots, and another doctor who ridicules you because you haven't gotten the shot. You're both doctors. You both went to medical school. It's like, which one is it? And people have just given up and say, you know what? I'll roll the dice and take my chances, right? Or whatever it may be. Or my civil liberties and my individual rights guaranteed me by the Constitution and the Founding Fathers is more important than me being sick for a few days. Right. It's.
Do you remember at the point where we were 2 years ago today? You remember the point where we were when people were afraid to go out? I remember 2 years ago having to put on a mask and rubber gloves just to go get some food at the grocery store when we were still under lockdown, and being afraid to do or walk by anybody in a grocery store, and now the way you look at it, the ridiculousness. Gloving up just to go shopping for about 15 minutes. You run through the store, grab the absolute bare minimum you need, go through the line, and then get out of there.
Yeah,
and we did that for 2 months or so, that before things calmed down a little bit.
Yeah, 2 years ago this time, when the gyms were shut down, when everything was shut down in New York, and New York looked like epicenter of ground zero of the pandemic. I literally could walk across a 4-lane road right near my house. It's a major thoroughfare. I could ride my bike down the middle of it. It was like a flippin' zombie town. There was nobody out. Everyone was locked down. I was riding my bike because the gyms were closed. So I was doing 12 to 15 miles a day. And I was like, I could go anywhere I wanted. And I even saw idiot people riding bikes and walking out in the open weather with masks on. And they would see me riding, and if they had their mask down, they would peel it up as I blew past them at probably 15 to 16 miles an hour at the opposite direction. They would just freak out and move to the side. Everyone, like I say, they were wearing gloves in the stores, except, into the stores that were still allowed to be open, the big box, because everyone else was shut down. Yeah, everyone. But you know what, John? No one questioned anything. everyone's like, this is going to be bad. It looked like it was going to be bad. We saw the images from Italy of those military trucks just lined up full of bodies, and we're like, holy. And we saw China people being grabbed and yanked off the streets, and there's talking about all these people dying. So as a country, we were like, well, we believe the CDC, we believe the doctors, and somewhat the government. And this is like, we better strap in. Like, we're shutting down the country. This is like never before. We are literally in living history right now. And I think the government, went from flatten the curve, because what they did is they looked at Italy and Europe and said, we don't want to be like that. They're overwhelming the hospital systems. They have nowhere to put these people. We just need everyone to lock down and flatten the curve, because everyone's going to get it. We just got to not have everyone get it at the same time. To, you're going to kill grandma, to you hate everyone and you're ultra-right Republican because you don't want to follow along. I mean, that's when it transitioned, was that entire summer of 2020, when it became part of the election cycle. Had the election not been happening...
I can't understand where we got to being accused of being Nazis because we wouldn't wear a mask. I can't square that one. Where, you're just a right-wing Nazi if you're not wearing a mask, or you refuse to wear a mask or get a vaccine. That one I could understand, but I've heard that one more than a few times.
Yeah. It's I remember, I've said this before on the show. I remember when my son, my youngest, had went to school. That was his first year in college, and he was telling me, he's going to school here in New York, and his friends one time said to him, new friends he made at college, which obviously is very left area kind of stuff. He isn't, but they were like, "Well, we kind of thought you were we kind of thought you were conservative." He never talks about his politics. He knows everyone there's ultra left, and they're like, "We kind of thought you were conservative." And he told me this. He'd been in school about a month or two, and I go, "Why is that? Why did they think you were conservative?" He's like, "Because they said every time I go outside, I would take my mask on. I didn't like wearing my mask, so they just thought I was a Republican." And I remember, John, I mean, this was probably like September, maybe October of 2020. He was only a couple months into college, and I go, "Really? Like, it's that political?" I remember being that naive. I'm like, he goes, "Yeah, they say because every time I go outside of the dorm, I take my mask off and I don't wear it all the time, that they thought I was they thought I was concerned." Now he really is, but he just never talked about it. And he hung out with a whole bunch of liberals, and they just like, "We thought you were kind of conservative, but you're not." But and when he asked him why, it's because he'd take his mask off. And I was like, I remember looking, I said, I can't believe people are getting that crazy about it, that just because you're not going to wear a mask, they think you vote one way or another. How little did I know? How I was so ignorant.
That's how indication is nothing but virtue signaling. That's all it is.
Yeah, it was. I did not know what was about to happen, and how true that was going to hold for this country, if not the entire world, but definitely this country. But yeah, so here we are. The president doesn't know if he's talking about Title 42 or CDC mask enforcement, and we'll see what happens with that. But he's how anyone is going to well, maybe that's why Bernie is talking about possibly running again for a third time. I guess maybe he thinks the DNC is not going to sabotage him this time. But I mean, honestly, you look at Bernie compared to Biden. Bernie looks like he's a freaking Mensa member. I mean, he looks sharper in a box full of tacks. But yeah, it's it is going to be something. I don't know how this man's going to think he's going to run in 2024. Actually, any of them. But
Neil Mangino in his show today was talking about how the word that he's getting from inside the White House from his former cohorts there are saying it's far, far worse than we're even being able to see. And we see it bad now from the outside, but they're saying it's way worse, and that it's actually appearing to accelerate now, his condition, that he's getting worse by the month.
Jill Biden should be charged with senior abuse, because she definitely facilitated this to happen. And it would be one thing if we had a vice president that all of us would feel like, yeah, we need a 25th Amendment. Let's get the VP in there to run things, but don't even want the VP. I mean, there's nobody. But
I'll vote for the bunny before I let Harris get in there.
Yes, the bunny for 2024. But yeah, we'll have to see what happens. But no, it's like Toby and I have talked about it a number of times. Every time you think you see something and you think it couldn't get any worse than this, he couldn't be any more confused than this, wandering around the stage. Nobody wants to talk
Hold
to
my
him.
beer.
Right. And he's like, nope. And, oh, no, a bunny. Oh, it can't get worse than that. Oh, no, he can't. He can't even answer the right question because he's so confused. So, yeah. Hey, I want to pivot real quick and talk about Ukraine a little bit. That's kind of fallen off some of the news cycles. It's almost becoming normal humdrum kind of stuff. It's definitely not getting all the attention it used to. I know you've got some insight into some stuff that's going on over there. We're seeing Mariupol, who's just is on a. It looks like it's on the cusp of just being completely obliterated, and every defender is in a die in place mission. What's going on? What do you know that's happening over there? Besides some of the people we know that are trying to help people and rescue people, and all that, and the new military aid that was promised today.
In the interest of full disclosure, as you know, Troy, my wife is Ukrainian.
Yes.
She was born and raised in Kiev. She and her daughter immigrated to the U.S. About 18 years ago, and they still have ties and family and friends that are still back there. From what I'm hearing right now, there has been a bit of a lull in the areas around Kiev. From what I'm reading, what I'm understanding, there's been a huge realignment push by the Russians in Donbass areas and some others. I have a feeling they are restructuring and refitting and are going to take this on in a much different manner than the initial push. Mariupol is in dire straits. That is just a short period of time away from being decimated and overrun. And as you may have talked about previously, the reason is they want to be able to open up that channel all the way down into Crimea and to restore the water supply back into the Crimean Peninsula, which has been shut off ever since they took it by the Ukrainian government. The water had to flow down from the north into the south of Crimea, and they had effectively shut that off. But they have not been able to get a lot of the people out, a lot of the services out, and a lot of the wounded and the elderly out of Mariupol area because they have not been able to open up the passageways that had been agreed upon. Those haven't been done yet, but people are working very diligently in order to do that. I did see in the news today that another $800 million in military aid has been earmarked to go to Ukraine, including the new Ghost drones that are supposed to be headed on their way over there. Those are not ones that I'm familiar with. I am familiar with the Blades and a few of the others, but they're sending over ones that are called Ghosts now to help them. And I know that there's a lot of other material that's on its way there. Trains and trains and trains coming out of Poland and other places earmarked to head towards Ukraine.
Okay. Yeah, and I heard today that we are feel like I lost my audio. There we go. I heard today that we're sending more artillery or more like another 300 or 600 million in military aid over there.
800 million. Yep. Or 800 billion. I think it is 800 billion.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what. Hopefully they can hold out. I mean, I hope the media outlets keep it in the forefront and the American people don't become numb to it and focus on it and just think it's something else because 4 to 5 million people displaced or kids displaced and everything. And, people like you and our good friend. Michael Caputo, who has connections over their family and others. I mean, I have a guy who used to serve with Afghanistan who just came back from there. Him and his family went over there and just worked the Poland-Ukraine borders, just helping families and people get out. I mean, there's been people standing up left, right, and center just trying to do something. In addition to our good friends that Save Our Allies, Robo and Nick Palmachon and Tim Kennedy and all kind of folks doing stuff. I just hope the American people don't lose sight of it just because the media is not covering it in front of them.
Hey, a word of caution to your listeners out there, Troy. For those that want to donate or something, be very careful who you donate to. I urge caution. There's a lot of bad actors out there trying to raise money on the back of the Ukraine crisis and doing so, but their intent is far from trustworthy. So please be careful. Do some due diligence before you do that. especially when they say they're trying to send vests and other armaments and stuff like that, because a lot of that stuff is very sensitive, and we just can't pick up and send a container over there from mom and pop kettle over into Ukraine. We just can't do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I have a word of caution.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. I mean, there are people going to try to scam or do this, and like any other charity or any other major, natural disaster, right? You got to kind of just do some due diligence and make sure that your stuff is your money is, or whatever you're contributing is getting to where it needs to be and not being siphoned. But yeah. So anyway, we covered a lot of topics. We've been a little over an hour. I knew it'd go by quick. Anything else, John? That any other hot topics that you think you'd like to cover tonight before we?
I think the biggest hot topic left to cover we haven't had a chance to talk about tonight, Troy, is how DeSantis is kicking butt down there in Florida. The legislature has passed and sent on to his desk for signature about yanking the rug out from Disney. Go woke, go broke. May you choke on it, Disney. They're about to lose their self-rule status that they've had since 1967, and that's going to be a real sea change for those guys down there. I think that's one of the biggest things. I think it's showing how good leadership, strong leadership, is effective, and how it can affect sea change. I think you're going to see a big change down there.
Yeah, some of the folks on the left today were just are trying to promote this as, oh, this is just him jockeying for the cameras because he wants to run for president or whatever. But it's like, hey, you probably should stick to being a entertainment and family entertainment venue and stay out of politics like you claimed you were going to do, because you don't pick a fight with you don't bite the hand that feeds you, essentially. And they must have thought they were immune or above the law. But the repealing of the what they call it, the Reedy Creek Act, is not only going to hurt them, but it sounds like it's going to hurt a lot of the families in the Osceola, Orange County areas, because now those two counties have to take on the tax burden and bond burden from Disney, which the report I heard tonight right before the show was that could be upwards of $2,000 per citizen of those counties per year. Because of that. So, and then of course you have the very woke and liberal governor of Colorado who's telling Disney, "Oh, come on out to Colorado. You can move everything out here." Yeah, I'm not sure that's how that works. People aren't big into going to Colorado in December to go ride a space mountain.
Well, this is a point that I brought up before. Let's take a look at that. They said, well, we don't interfere in companies' business. Oh, really? Can I bring up Magpul? Can we talk about Magpul and what Colorado did to that manufacturing by trying to prevent them from manufacturing magazines over 10 rounds? They basically said you can no longer manufacture magazines. That was specifically targeted at Magpul. And what did Magpul do? They were located in north central Colorado. They pulled up stakes, moved 45 miles over the Wyoming border, and reestablished their headquarters in manufacturing up there.
Look at how many gun and ammunition manufacturers in New York have left, right? They went to Texas, they went to Alabama, they went to a number of places because of states impacting and getting into private business, right? And it'll be this will be a lesson learned. I mean, I'm sure there's going to be some change of ownership at Disney. Besides the fact of just it'd be one thing if they stood for a topic or they stood for something that was valid, but anyone that's done 5 minutes of research knows they can label it because they like to give it a cool little moniker that just rhymes well and rolls off the tongue. You can call it a "Don't Say Gay" bill, but when you look at it, it has nothing to do with not allowing someone to say that or say anything. It has to do with what I think most people of any cognitive mind, any common sense too, would sit there and go, yeah, we don't need to talk to kids that young about sex and sexual preferences. It's just not the right. That's pretty much all it says. The parents have to be notified and have to give permission. Not much different than, at least when I was growing up, even in middle school, I guess it was. I don't remember when it was. When you're going to learn about health, the school would tell you, hey, and coming up in a few weeks, we're going to talk in boys' health and girls' health about reproductive organs, blah, blah, blah. Hey, parents, just want to make sure you know about it. And if you want your kid to stay out of it, then, sign this thing. That's the way it's always been. That's the way the people today were all raised. And look, at third grade or fourth grade or whatever these ages were that they want to do this at, I like my teachers were Mrs. So-and-so or Mr. So-and-so. There was no thought about what they did, who they married, dated. If they didn't tell me about it, I didn't know about it. And if they did, I probably didn't pay attention or care. Maybe their husband came in one time or whatever. Okay. But I don't need you to come in as a second grade or third grade teacher and tell the students about what you went, kayaking with your boyfriend on the weekend, or whatever. Like that has nothing to do with, the 3 R's, right? And that's all the law was for. But, the woke agenda and the woke left wanted to, label it with this, don't say gay, and try to promote a homophobic mentality, and saying anyone that supported that law was just being homophobic. It's almost like calling everyone that doesn't agree with you or wears a certain color hat as racist. I mean, they're totally watering down what that means. To call someone as racist is like calling someone a Nazi. To call someone homophobic are all terrible things to call someone. And most in past times, you would never call someone that, right? Unless it was overwhelming evidence, like they were in a Nazi uniform in a parade, right? You would never even consider that. Or if they were in a white hood and
There's no
burning
backlash.
crosses. Right.
There's no backlash for harassing anybody unless you're Mike Tyson.
Well, I'm not sure there's backlash there.
In other words, don't harass Mike Tyson on an airplane. All right, bad choice of timing.
Last person you want to pick a fight with. But good cut on that current topic. But no, Governor DeSantis he's showing them that be careful what you do. At the end of the day, governments can make changes, and what's Disney going to do? They're not going to leave. They're not going to up and pull out. Where are they going to go? Texas? I mean, they've already got California. What state are they going to move the entire Disney platform to? Where are they going to find the anchorage? They're only going to find that
Minnesota.
Anchorage. Yeah, it'll be super popular up there. Space Mountain. I have a Thunder Mountain Railroad. I have a whole new meaning when you come out of there with frostbite. But yeah, so yep, that's Governor DeSantis is being the good Florida man right there, and showing how it's done. So, yep. All right. Anything else you want to hit on before we go?
Dude, I could keep us here all night. I could be bringing them and pinging them all night long, but I think we've covered it for a little over an hour and 15 minutes now. So
yep.
It's been a great show. It's gone by so fast.
Yeah, and our good friend Chuck says he welcomes Disney to his backyard. He said they can set up in Fort Worth, and he will he'll welcome there. He'll even play the mouse. But with that said, yes, it's been a great. Thank you so much, John, for joining me. You do have this, a long storied history and background, most of which most people don't even know about. As you talked about, you were at the VA for a long time. You were at HHS. We've had you on here a number of times before. You come with a degree of experience, and you know what you're talking about. We definitely, want to make sure, and thank you for bringing up the story. We want to make sure that people are aware of what's going on with this veteran down in Yuma, trying to get back to Western New York. 81-year-old mother trying to take care of him down there as he recovers from this GBS. And I thank you for bringing it up. Hopefully we can make some progress on that tonight.
Thank you, Troy. I appreciate it. If anybody can help Peter, I would love to hear from you. Thank you.
Yes, that is awesome. Well, with that being said, let me get everything ready for the outro. I'll give you a second for 30 seconds for any last final words to everybody.
That's it. Thank you for having me tonight, Troy. Good luck to everybody, and I appreciate the chance to come on anytime. Love to share the experience with everybody.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, John. Everyone else, thank you. Be sure and tune in next Thursday here on Stu and the Nunn. We will talk to everyone, I guess that's the 28th or so next week, and here 8 o'clock Eastern. Until then, everyone have a safe and healthy week until we talk to you next week. Well, that wraps up another episode of the Stu and the Nunn Show, and we hope you had as much fun listening to it as we did hosting it for you. Don't forget to like our Facebook page and follow us on Twitter. You can find all these links at stewandthenunn.com. We will talk to you again next Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central. Also, we'd like to thank our sponsors, Commodity Outdoors, Veteran Outdoors, Enlisted 9 Fight Company, Warrior Media Solutions, and BooHammer.com. Thank you again, and have a good night.